On New Year's Eve, my daughter-in-law called me a burden. It happened at 11:47 p.m., 13 minutes before midnight during the champagne toast. We were gathered in my living room, my home, the house I'd lived in for 42 years, celebrating the arrival of the new year. About 20 people, family, Daniel's colleagues from the architecture firm, Amanda's friends from her yoga studio, neighbors. I'd spent 3 days preparing, cooking, decorating, making sure everything was perfect for the celebration Daniel and Amanda wanted to host. At your house, Mom, Daniel had said when they proposed it 2 weeks earlier, "You have so much more space than our apartment and you're so good at hosting." I'd said yes. Of course I'd said yes. I always said yes. So I'd prepared hors d'oeuvres, a full dinner buffet, champagne chilling decorations throughout the house, everything perfect. Now at 11:47 p.m., we were all standing in the living room with champagne glasses waiting for midnight. Amanda stood near the fireplace, glass raised, laughing as she spoke. "Before we toast the new year," she said, her voice carrying across the room, "I want to make an announcement." Everyone turned to her, smiling, expecting something wonderful. Glasses clinked. People shifted their champagne flutes, the crystal making that distinctive ringing sound, anticipatory, celebratory. Amanda smiled, beautiful in her designer dress, perfect makeup, hair professionally styled for the occasion. "Daniel and I have been talking," she said, "about making some changes in the new year, about what we want our lives to look like." She looked around the room, making eye contact with people building drama. "And we've decided," she continued, "that we need to set some boundaries, healthy boundaries." She paused, took a sip of her champagne. The room waited. "Living next to family is wonderful," she said. "But it can also be complicated." A few people nodded, understanding nods. Modern boundaries, self-care. Everyone understood those concepts. "The truth is," Amanda said, looking directly at me now, "having Daniel's mother so close, having her constantly involved in our lives, it's become a burden." Eyes turned to me, all 20 people in that room. In my home at the party I'd prepared for 3 days, waiting for shame, waiting to see how I'd react, waiting to see me embarrassed, humiliated, put in my place. I smiled. Not a fake smile, not a grimace, a real genuine smile. Stayed silent. I didn't interrupt, didn't defend myself, didn't protest, just stood there, glass in hand, smiling calmly, and let her finish. Amanda continued, encouraged by my silence. "We love Catherine, of course we do, but we need space. We need to build our own life without constant involvement, without feeling obligated to include her in everything, without her expectations." She raised her glass higher. "So here's to the new year, to healthy boundaries, to Daniel and me finally putting ourselves first." Several people raised their glasses uncertainly, not quite sure if they should toast this. I kept smiling, kept silent, already deciding how that night would be remembered. Because Amanda had just made a critical miscalculation. She'd humiliated me publicly in my own home in front of 20 people, and she'd assumed I would either break down or passively accept it. She didn't know me at all. I raised my glass, smiled wider. "To the new year," I said quietly, "to all of us getting exactly what we deserve," and I drank. The room was silent, confused, uncomfortable. Midnight came. Champagne toasts, forced celebration. By 12:30 a.m., people were leaving awkwardly quickly. By 1:00 a.m., only Daniel and Amanda remained, helping me clean up silently, the tension unbearable. When they finally left, Amanda kissed my cheek. "I hope you understand, Catherine. It's not personal. It's just healthy boundaries." "I understand perfectly," I said, still smiling. After they left, I sat in my living room surrounded by champagne glasses and dirty plates, and I began to plan because Amanda was right about one thing. That night would be remembered just not the way she thought. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from. And if this story resonates with you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. My name is Catherine Helen Carter. I'm 67 years old. I've been a widow for 8 years since my husband Paul died of a heart attack at 62. Those 8 years have been largely about Daniel, about being available for my son, about helping him build his career, his marriage, his life. Daniel is my only son, 38 years old, a talented architect who runs his own firm. He married Amanda 5 years ago. I tried to like Amanda. I really had. But from the beginning, something felt off. She was 34, beautiful, charming in public, a yoga instructor who taught at an expensive studio in the UI city, and she was slowly, methodically cutting me out of Daniel's life. It had been gradual, so gradual I almost didn't notice at first. First, the Sunday dinners stopped. We're so busy, Mom. Amanda teaches evening classes. Maybe next month. Then the holiday plans changed. Amanda's family wants us for Thanksgiving this year. We'll see you for Christmas. Then Christmas became, we're doing a quiet Christmas, just the two of us building our own traditions. My birthday came and went with a phone call, no visit. When I mentioned I was having some health issues and needed to schedule surgery, Daniel said, "That's tough, Mom. Let me know what the doctor says." No offer to take me to appointments. No offer to help during recovery. I'd raised him alone after Paul died, worked 2 jobs to keep him in private school, paid for his architecture degree, helped him start his firm by remortgaging my house. And now I was what? An inconvenience, a burden. But I'd smiled, accepted it, told myself they needed space, that this was normal until tonight. Tonight, Amanda had said it out loud in front of 20 people, called me a burden, and expected me to just accept it, to smile and nod, and agree that yes, I was too much, too involved, too present. Sitting in my living room at 1:30 a.m. on New Year's Day, I realized something. I'd been making myself small for 5 years, trying to be the mother-in-law Amanda wanted. Unobtrusive, helpful, but not intrusive, available, but not demanding. And it hadn't worked because Amanda didn't want a relationship with me at all. She wanted me gone. Well, if Amanda wanted boundaries, I would give her boundaries. But first, I needed to understand exactly what I was dealing with. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time. So if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. I woke up on New Year's Day with a headache and a clarity I hadn't felt in years. The house was still a mess from the party. I'd been too tired and too angry to finish cleaning the night before. I made coffee and sat at my kitchen table with a notebook. I needed to think strategically, not emotionally, not reactively. I needed to understand what had just happened and what I was going to do about it. I started by making a list. What Amanda said last night. Living next to me is complicated. Having me constantly involved is a burden. They need space from my involvement. They need to stop feeling obligated to include me. They need to be free from my expectations. I read it over. Let it sink in. The accusations were interesting because I hadn't been constantly involved. I'd actually pulled way back over the past 5 years. I didn't drop by unannounced. I waited to be invited. I didn't call daily. I waited for them to call me. I didn't expect to be included. I was grateful when I was. So what was Amanda actually saying? She was saying that my mere existence near them was a burden, that any contact at all was too much. She wanted me completely out of their lives. And she'd chosen New Year's Eve in my own home in front of witnesses to announce this. Why I thought about the people who'd been there. Daniel's colleagues, Amanda's yoga friends, neighbors. Amanda had staged a performance. She'd wanted witnesses. But why? Then it clicked. She was building a narrative, establishing a story. The story of the overbearing mother-in-law who couldn't respect boundaries. The story that would justify whatever she did next. If she and Daniel cut me off completely, she had witnesses who'd heard her talk about healthy boundaries, who'd heard her frame me as a burden. She was getting ahead of any criticism, building her defense in advance. Smart, cruel, but smart. My phone rang. Daniel. I let it ring 4 times before answering. Hello, Mom. It's me about last night. Happy New Year, Daniel. Right. Happy New Year. Listen, I wanted to talk about what Amanda said. I waited. She didn't mean it the way it sounded. We've been in therapy and our therapist has been helping us set boundaries, and Amanda got a little enthusiastic about expressing them. I see you're not upset, are you? Why would I be upset? Well, I know Amanda was pretty direct, but you have to understand Mom. She's right. We do need some space, some distance. We're building our own life. Of course you are. You're adults. You should have your own life, so you understand. I understand perfectly. Good. That's good. So we're okay. We're fine, Daniel. Great. Listen, I have to go. Amanda and I are going to brunch with her sister, but I'm glad we talked. Enjoy your brunch. I hung up. He hadn't apologized, hadn't acknowledged that what Amanda did was cruel, hadn't defended me at all. He'd called to make sure I wasn't going to cause problems. I sat with that for a long moment. Then I made a decision. I would give Amanda exactly what she wanted. Complete distance, total boundaries, but I would do it in a way that would show Daniel and everyone else exactly what he was losing. On January the 2nd, I started planning my new life. First, I needed help understanding what had happened and how to move forward without destroying myself. I searched for therapists specializing in family dynamics and narcissistic behavior. Found one, Dr. Patricia Morrison, who had experience with family estrangement and manipulation. First appointment, January 5th. Second, I needed to stop being available for Daniel and Amanda. I went through my phone and removed all the reminders I'd set. Text Daniel on Monday, ask about Amanda's yoga retreat check-in about their anniversary plans. I deleted them all. From now on, I would respond when contacted, but I would not initiate. Third, I needed to rebuild my own life, my own identity beyond Daniel's mother. I'd given that up when Paul died. I'd made Daniel my entire world. Time to reclaim myself. I searched for activities, groups, volunteer opportunities, a watercolor painting class. I'd loved painting before I got married. A volunteer program at the Botanical Gardens. A women's travel group for solo travelers over 60. A book club at the library. A cooking class focused on French cuisine. I registered for all of them. Fourth, I needed to reconnect with people I'd lost touch with. I'd had close friends before Paul died, but I'd let those friendships fade because I'd been consumed with grief and single parenthood. Then with being available for Daniel, I found 3 old friends on social media and sent messages. It's been too long. I'd love to reconnect. Fifth, and this was the strategic part, I needed to document everything. I started a journal, dated entries, what Amanda said, what Daniel said, how I felt. Not to wallow, but to have a clear record, because I suspected Amanda would continue to escalate. And when she did, I wanted documentation. On January 5th, I had my first therapy session. Dr. Morrison's office was warm and professional. She was maybe 60 with kind eyes and a direct manner that reminded me of myself. Catherine, tell me what brought you here. I told her about New Year's Eve, about Amanda's public declaration about Daniel's non-apology. How did you feel when she called you a burden? Humiliated, angry, confused. I've spent 5 years trying to be the mother-in-law she wanted, and it still wasn't enough. What kind of mother-in-law did you think she wanted? Uninvolved, distant, helpful when needed, but otherwise invisible. And were you those things I tried to be, but she still called you a burden? Yes. Dr. Morrison leaned forward. Catherine, can I suggest something? The problem isn't that you weren't distant enough. The problem is that you exist, and for some reason your existence threatens her. That's what I've been thinking. Good instinct. Tell me, does Amanda have other people in her life she treats this way? I thought about it. She doesn't talk to her own mother. They're estranged. Has been for years. Why Amanda says her mother was controlling, narcissistic. Interesting. And Amanda's relationship with her father. He died when she was young. So she has a pattern of cutting off maternal figures. I hadn't thought of it that way. Does Daniel defend you? Set boundaries with Amanda when she's cruel to you. He makes excuses for her. So Amanda makes you the villain and Daniel goes along with it. Yes. We spent the rest of the session exploring the dynamic, the pattern, the narcissistic behavior. Catherine Dr. Morrison said at the end, "You can't fix this. You can't be different enough or distant enough to make Amanda accept you because this isn't about you. This is about her. So what do? You accept that Daniel has chosen Amanda and you build a life that doesn't revolve around his approval or her. Acceptance. Will he ever see what she's doing? Maybe, maybe not, but you can't wait for that. You have to move forward either way." I left that session feeling validated, but also devastated because Dr. Morrison was right. I'd lost my son not to death, but to a woman who'd isolated him from everyone who truly loved him. Over the next 6 weeks, I threw myself into building a new life. I started the watercolor painting class. Tuesday evenings, 10 women, all over 60, all reclaiming a creative passion. The instructor, Robert, was 72 and had been painting for 50 years. Most of you gave up art for family, he said the first night, for careers, for obligation. Here you paint for yourself, for joy, for no reason, except that you want to. It felt revolutionary. I began volunteering at the botanical gardens every Thursday. 4 hours of working with plants, learning about horticulture, giving tours. The gardens were peaceful, beautiful, and the volunteer coordinator, a woman named Margaret, made me feel valued. "We're lucky to have you," she said after my first week. "You're a natural teacher." I joined the women's travel group. Our first planning meeting was in late January. 15 women ranging from early 60s to mid-80s planning trips. "Where do you want to go?" the group leader, Susan, asked me. "I don't know. I haven't traveled since my husband died." Then you get to discover it all fresh. What interests you, Italy? I've always wanted to see the art in Florence. Italy it is. We're planning a trip for September. You should join us. I will. The book club became a highlight of my week. 12 women, read all with opinions. We discussed books, but we also discussed our lives, our struggles, our triumphs. Several women had similar stories. Adult children who'd drifted away, who'd chosen spouses who didn't like them, who'd made them feel like burdens. "I haven't seen my daughter in 3 years. One woman, Patricia, said her husband doesn't like me. She chose him. "Do you regret anything you did?" I asked. "I regret spending 30 years trying to fix it instead of accepting it and moving on. I wasted so much time waiting for her to come back. That hit hard. The French cooking class was pure indulgence. Saturday mornings, small groups, hands-on cooking. The chef Henri was demanding but encouraging. Cooking is precision and passion both. You must respect the technique, but also make it yours." I loved it. Meanwhile, Daniel and Amanda were silent. No calls, no texts, no contact at all. Fine. I didn't reach out either. In mid-February, my birthday came and went. 68. No call from Daniel, no card, no acknowledgement. Last year, he'd at least called. This year, nothing. I spent the day in the gardens, then had dinner with my book club friends. They'd arranged a surprise celebration. To Catherine, Patricia said, raising her glass, "Who's choosing herself?" It was the best birthday I'd had in years. 6 weeks after New Year's Eve, I hit a wall. It happened on a Tuesday night. I came home from painting class, energized, excited about a piece I'd been working on. I parked my car, walked into my house, and suddenly felt crushing loneliness. The house was silent, empty, no one to share the good news with. For a moment, just a moment, I wanted to call Daniel, tell him about the painting. hear him say he was proud of me, but I knew what would happen. He'd say, "That's nice, Mom," in that distracted voice, or he wouldn't answer at all. Or worse, he'd answer, and Amanda would be in the background making comments. I sat on my sofa and I cried, really cried for the first time since New Year's Eve. I'd been so focused on being strong, on building this new life, that I hadn't let myself grieve what I'd lost. The fantasy of the mother-son relationship, I thought we had the hope that Daniel would wake up one day and see what Amanda was doing. The dream that he'd choose me. I called. Dr. Morrison, even though it wasn't our scheduled session day, left a voicemail. She called back within an hour. "Catherine, what's happening? I don't know if I can do this. Being strong, setting boundaries, building a new life. It's exhausting. And tonight I felt so alone. Where are you right now, home?" "On my sofa crying. That's good." "Crying?" "Yes. You've been holding yourself together for 6 weeks, being strong, making changes, but you haven't let yourself grieve. Tonight you're grieving. That's healthy. It doesn't feel healthy. It feels like I'm failing." Grief isn't failure. It's feeling the weight of loss. You've lost the son you thought you had, the relationship you believed existed. That deserves grief. I thought building a new life meant I wouldn't feel this pain anymore. Building a new life doesn't erase pain. It gives you context for the pain, a foundation to stand on while you feel it. We talked for 30 minutes. She helped me see that this moment of doubt wasn't regression. It was part of the process. "Catherine, you're not the same person who stood in that room on New Year's Eve. That woman would have called Daniel, apologized for being distant, gone back to accepting whatever he offered. Are you going to do that? No. Why not? Because even though I'm sad tonight, I don't want to go back. This life I'm building, it's real. It's mine. And it's better than being called a burden. Then you're not failing. You're just having a hard night, and that's okay." After we hung up, I did something I hadn't done in weeks. I pulled out old photo albums, pictures of Daniel as a baby, as a child of Paul and me, when we were young and happy. I let myself remember not the fantasy version, the real version. Daniel had always been somewhat self-centered, even as a child. I'd told myself it was normal childhood egoentrism that he'd grow out of it. But he hadn't. He just found a partner who reinforced it, and I'd enabled it by always putting him first. By making his needs more important than my own, by teaching him that my love was unconditional, which meant he didn't have to earn it. I'd created the dynamic that allowed Amanda to thrive. That realization hurt, but it also freed me. This wasn't just about Amanda. This was about a pattern I'd perpetuated for 38 years, a pattern I was finally breaking. I closed the photo albums and made myself tea, sat at my kitchen table with my journal. I wrote "Tonight grieved. Tomorrow I keep building." Both can be true. In early March, I ran into Amanda at the grocery store. I was in the produce section when I saw her. Designer activewear, perfect hair, selecting organic vegetables. She saw me, hesitated, then put on a smile and walked over. "Catherine, I haven't seen you in forever." "Hello, Amanda. How are you?" "We've been so busy. I haven't had a chance to call." "I'm well. Thank you for asking. You look different. Did you do something to your hair?" I'd started going to a better salon, getting better cuts, taking care of my appearance. "Just a trim." "Well, you look great. We should have dinner soon. Catch up. That would be nice. I'll have Daniel call you to schedule something." "Wonderful." She smiled, chatted for another minute about nothing, then left. Daniel never called to schedule dinner. The next time I saw them was at the end of March at a charity gala for the Architecture Foundation. I'd been invited because I donated to the foundation for years long before Daniel started his firm. I arrived in a new dress hair, professionally done, confident. Daniel and Amanda were there. He was networking. She was on his arm playing the supportive wife. When Daniel saw me, he looked shocked, then uncomfortable. "Mom, I didn't know you'd be here. I'm a foundation donor. I'm invited every year." "Right." "Of course." "You look different." "Thank you." Amanda looked me up and down, assessing. "That's a beautiful dress, Catherine." "New it is." "Well, you look lovely. We should let you get to your table." We're sitting with Daniel's partners. They walked away. I sat with other donors, had interesting conversations, enjoyed the event. Later, I saw Daniel watching me from across the room, looking confused. Good. The day after my crisis, I met Patricia for coffee. She took one look at me and said, "Bad night." How can you tell I've been where you are? The moment when you realize building a new life doesn't mean you stop, missing what you lost. I told her about my breakdown, about calling Dr. Morrison, about looking through old photos. I felt like I was failing. I said, like, all this progress was fake. It's not fake, but it's not linear either. Healing happens in waves. Forward progress, then grief, then more forward progress. How long did it take you to feel solid in your new life? About 2 years before I stopped having those moments of doubt, but they got less frequent, less intense, and I learned to ride them out instead of letting them pull me back. What helped, honestly, talking to people who understood my therapist friends, who'd been through similar things, and giving myself permission to have bad days without calling them failures. We sat in comfortable silence for a moment. "Can I tell you something?" Patricia said. "When you first came to book club, you looked like you were barely holding it together, like you were one wrong word away from shattering." I probably was. But every week you got a little stronger, a little more present. And the way you talk about books, now you have opinions, strong ones. You don't apologize for them. I'm working on that. It shows you're becoming yourself, and it's beautiful to watch. 2. After coffee, Patricia invited me to her house. "I want to show you something." Her home was lovely, filled with books and art and evidence of a life well lived. She led me to her study. The walls were covered with photographs. "This is my wall of reclamation," she said, gesturing to the photos. There were pictures of Patricia traveling alone, learning to scuba dive at 65, hiking the Appalachian Trail, volunteering in Costa Rica. After my daughter cut me off, I spent a year grieving. Then I decided to do everything I'd put off while I was waiting for her to need me. Do you ever regret it? Regret choosing myself? Not for a second do I wish my daughter had made different choices every day, but I can't control her. I can only control me. She pointed to one photo, Patricia standing on a mountain peak, arms raised in triumph. This was taken on my 68th birthday. I climbed that mountain alone, and at the top, I realized I'm whole. With or without my daughter, I'm whole. I want that. I said, "You're getting there." "I can see it." Spring brought more changes. I enrolled in the Italy trip with the travel group. September 2nd weeks, Florence, Rome, Venice. I'd never traveled alone, never spent that kind of money on myself. But why not? I had money. Paul's life insurance, my own savings, no debt. I'd been hoarding it. Saving it for what? For Daniel. He was successful, he didn't need it. Time to spend it on myself. I started going to the theater symphony art exhibitions. I bought season tickets to the opera. I went to gallery openings at the Botanical Gardens. I lived, and people noticed. At the gardens, Margaret said, "You're glowing, Catherine. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it. I'm just living my life." Well, it suits you. In the painting class, Robert asked if I'd be interested in displaying some of my work in a local art show. Me, I'm just a beginner. You have talent, and more importantly, you have something to say. Your paintings have emotion. I agreed to submit 3 pieces. In the book club, Patricia said, "You're different from when you first joined. More yourself. I'm working on it. It shows." Meanwhile, complete silence from Daniel and Amanda, which was fine. I wasn't waiting for them anymore. I was building something else. June, the art show preparation. In the weeks leading up to the art show, I worked harder on my paintings than I'd worked on anything in years. Robert, my painting instructor, pushed me. This one is good, but it's safe. Paint something that scares you. What do you mean? Paint your truth. Paint the thing you're afraid to say out loud. That's when I painted Burden. I painted a woman clearly meant to be me, standing in a room full of people. She's holding a massive boulder over her head. The boulder is labeled with words, expectations, obligations, guilt, accommodation. The people in the room are laughing, drinking, celebrating. They don't see her struggling. In the foreground, the same woman is depicted again, but this time she's setting the boulder down, walking away from it. Her back is to the viewer, but her posture is straight, strong, free. When I showed it to Robert, he was quiet for a long moment. This is it. He finally said, "This is your truth. Is it too much? Too obvious? It's perfect. It's powerful. Submit this one." The night before the show, I almost withdrew the painting. What if Daniel saw it? What if Amanda saw it? But then I thought, so what if they do? This is my truth, my experience, my art. I don't have to make myself small in my own artwork. The painting stayed in the show. In mid-June, the local art show happened. It was a community event. Dozens of local artists displaying work at the botanical gardens. My 3 watercolors were accepted and displayed. One was of the gardens at sunset. One was an abstract piece about grief. One was titled "Burden a Woman Carrying a Mountain of Obligations, Finally Setting Them Down." The show opened on a Saturday. Hundreds of people attended. I stood near my paintings, nervous but proud. People stopped, looked. Several asked about purchasing them. That one, a woman said, pointing to Burden. That speaks to me. How much I named a price. She bought it. I sold all 3 paintings. Walking through the gardens that evening, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Pride. Not in Daniel's achievements, in my own. A week later, I got a voicemail from Amanda. "Hi, Catherine. It's Amanda. Someone told me they saw your artwork at the Botanical Gardens show. I didn't know you painted. That's interesting. Anyway, Daniel and I were thinking maybe we should have dinner soon. It's been a while. Give me a call." I didn't call back. 2 days later, Daniel called. "Mom Amanda said she left you a message about dinner." She did. And I've been very busy. Too busy to have dinner with your son. I have painting class on Tuesdays, book club on Wednesdays. I volunteer on Thursdays, French cooking on Saturdays. I'm quite busy. Since when do you have all these activities? Since I started building my own life like Amanda suggested. Silence. Mom. Amanda didn't mean, she just meant you should have. Your own interests, not that you should cut us off. I haven't cut you off, Daniel. You're welcome to call anytime. I'm just not waiting around for you to fit me into your schedule anymore. That's not fair, isn't it? When's the last time you called me? Called, not texted. Actually spoke to me. More silence. It's been busy. I'm sure it has. Well, when you're less busy, let me know. I'll check my calendar. I hung up. Felt powerful. The Botanical Gardens art show opened on a perfect summer evening. I arrived early nervous. My 3 paintings were displayed together in one section. The abstract grief piece, the garden sunset, and Burden. People started arriving, hundreds of them wandering through the gardens, viewing art, drinking wine. I stood near my paintings, watching people's reactions. Many people stopped, at Burden stared. Some nodded in recognition. Some took photos. One woman, maybe 50, stood in front of it for a full 5 minutes, tears running down her face. Finally, she turned to me. "Did you paint this?" I did. "It's my life. Exactly my life. My mother-in-law makes me feel like this every single day." I almost laughed. The irony. "I'm sorry you're going through that," I said. How did you stop carrying the boulder? I realized no one was asking me to carry it. I'd picked it up myself and I could put it down anytime I wanted. Was it hard, terrifying, but necessary? She bought the painting. I'm going to hang it in my living room as a reminder. Later that evening, as I was standing near the refreshment table, I saw them, Daniel and Amanda. They'd come to the show. My stomach dropped. They walked through the gardens looking at art. Daniel seemed uncomfortable. Amanda was on her phone. I watched as they approached my section. Daniel stopped in front of Burden, stared. He knew. I could see it on his face. He knew the painting was about him, about Amanda, about New Year's Eve. Amanda glanced at it. Didn't seem to register the meaning. Moved on to the next painting. But Daniel stood there reading the title, looking at the image, understanding. I waited for him to turn around to look for me. He didn't. He took out his phone, took a picture of the painting, then walked away. I didn't approach them, didn't announce myself. I just watched them leave and felt powerful. I told my truth in public and art, and I hadn't needed his permission. Summer was glorious. The gardens were at their peak. I spent hours there learning, teaching, tours, painting. I took a weekend trip to the coast with my book club friends. We rented a house, drank wine, walked on the beach, talked about everything. Patricia said, "You've completely transformed. You know that I feel different. You should. You're not waiting for scraps anymore. You're feasting." The Italy trip was coming up in September. I prepared, bought good luggage, comfortable walking shoes, researched museums and restaurants. Susan from the Travel K group helped me plan. First trip abroad in years. First trip alone ever. You're going to love it. In early August, I received an invitation in the mail. Daniel and Amanda were hosting a dinner party August 15th at their apartment. "We'd love for you to join us." The invitation read, "We've missed you." I looked at my calendar. I'd actually blocked out that weekend for a painting retreat. I texted Daniel, "Thank you for the invitation. Unfortunately, I have a commitment that weekend. Have a lovely party," he called immediately. "Mom, you can't come to our dinner party. I have a painting retreat. Can't you reschedule?" "No, I've paid the deposit. Non-refundable." "Since when do you prioritize painting over family?" "Since family started calling me a burden." Sharp intake of breath. "Mom, that was months ago." Amanda apologized. No, she didn't. What Amanda never apologized. She ran into me at the grocery store and suggested we have dinner sometime. That's not an apology. Well, she feels bad. Then she should say so. But either way, I have plans that weekend. This is ridiculous. You're punishing us. I'm not punishing anyone. I'm living my life like you both suggested. I hung up. Felt no guilt. The morning after Daniel saw the painting, I received a text from him. "I saw your painting last night. Burden, I know what it's about. We need to talk." I didn't respond immediately. I went to my painting class, worked on a new piece, had lunch with Margaret from the gardens. In the afternoon, I finally responded, "What would you like to talk about?" His reply came quickly about why you're publicly airing our private family issues. I read that several times. Let the audacity sink in. Publicly airing family issues like calling your mother a burden in front of 20 people on New Year's Eve. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Finally, that was different. How Amanda was establishing boundaries. "You're being vindictive." Actually laughed out loud. "Daniel, I'm creating art, processing my experiences through creativity. If that makes you uncomfortable, perhaps you should consider why." "Mom, this isn't fair." Neither is being called a burden, but here we are. No response. I put my phone away and went to the gardens. Spent the afternoon among the flowers. That evening, Amanda called. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of me. "Catherine, it's Amanda. We need to talk about your little art project." My art, that painting. The one about being a burden. "Daniel is very upset. I'm sorry he's upset." "Are you, because it seems like you're trying to embarrass us?" I'm expressing my experience through art. If that embarrasses you, that's interesting. You're making us look bad. I'm not making you anything. I'm painting my truth. If people see themselves in it, that's their interpretation. This is passive-aggressive. No, Amanda. Passive-aggressive was your New Year's Eve speech. My painting is just aggressive. Openly, honestly, artistically. She was silent for a moment. You've changed, she finally said. Yes, I have. Not for the better. That depends on your perspective. Daniel deserves better than this. Daniel deserves a mother who doesn't have to minimize herself to make him comfortable. I agree. That's not what I meant. I know what you meant, but I'm done translating your cruelty into something I can accept. Have a good evening, Amanda. I hung up, felt exhilarated. The Italy trip was transformative. 2 weeks, 15 women exploring Florence, Rome, and Venice. We saw art, ate incredible food, walked until our feet ached, laughed until we cried. In Florence, standing in front of Michelangelo's David, I wept. Susan put her arm around me. You okay? I'm more than okay. I'm free. Free from what? From waiting. From making myself small. From apologizing for existing. Good. Stay free. We took cooking classes in Tuscany, toured vineyards, stayed in small hotels with views of rolling hills. I bought art books, beautiful things for myself. I turned off my phone for most of the trip. When I turned it back on at the end, I had 17 missed calls from Daniel, 12 texts. The texts escalated. Mom, call me. Where are you? Why aren't you answering? I'm worried. This is ridiculous. Fine, be that way. I called him from the Rome airport. Mom, where have you been? Italy. What, I've been in Italy for 2 weeks with a travel group. You're in Italy. Since when do you go to Italy? Since I decided to stop waiting for you to include me in your life and start living my own. I don't understand what's happening. You're acting so strange. Strange or just different from the mother who accepted being called a burden. That's what this is about. You're still hung up on New Year's. Hung up. Daniel, your wife, humiliated me publicly in my own home. You defended her. You've barely spoken to me since. And now you're surprised I'm living my own life. We invited you to our dinner party after 6 months of silence. And I had other plans. Plans more important than your son. Plans that actually value me. Yes, silence, Mom. I don't know who you are anymore. I'm finally becoming myself. The self I gave up for everyone else. This isn't you. This is exactly me. You just never bothered to know who I was beyond Daniel's mother. I hung up, boarded my flight, came home to a life I'd built for myself. The Italy trip exceeded all expectations, but it was in Venice during our last few days that something shifted. We were taking a gondola ride, 6 of us in one boat floating through the canals. The gondolier was singing. The late afternoon sun turned everything golden. Susan, sitting next to me, said quietly, "You're different than when we started this trip. How so lighter? Like you've let something go." I thought about it. I think I have. What? The hope that Daniel would change, that Amanda would apologize, that I could fix it if I just found the right words. And now I accept that I can't control their choices. Only mine. And I choose this. I gestured to the canal, the beautiful buildings, the golden light. I choose beauty, joy experience, whether or not they're in my life. Susan took my hand. That's freedom. It is. That night, we had dinner at a small restaurant near our hotel, the 15 of us celebrating the end of our trip. Maria, a woman in her 70s who'd been quiet most of the trip, stood up. "I want to say something," she announced. "I came on this trip because my husband died last year. We'd always planned to see Italy together. I thought doing it alone would be sad." She paused, tears in her eyes. But it wasn't sad. It was liberating. And watching Catherine, watching you reclaim your life, your joy, yourself, it's inspired me. I'm not going to spend the rest of my life grieving what I lost. I'm going to celebrate what I still have. She raised her glass. to Catherine, and to all of us women who chose ourselves. We all raised our glasses, drank, some of us crying. Later, walking back to the hotel, I thought about Maria's words. I wasn't just changing my own life. I was showing other women it was possible. That meant something. October brought confrontation. Daniel showed up at my house unannounced on a Saturday morning. I was getting ready to leave for cooking class when he knocked. I opened the door. "Daniel, I wasn't expecting you. Can I come in?" "We need to talk." I checked my watch. "I have class in 45 minutes. This is important." "Fine, 30 minutes. We sat in the living room. He looked around, noticed changes. I'd redecorated, new furniture art on the walls. The room felt lighter, more mine. The house looks different. "I've made some changes. Mom, what's going on? You're traveling to Europe, taking cooking classes, painting. You've completely checked out of my life." "I haven't checked out. I've just stopped making you the center of my universe. That's unfair." "Is it Daniel? Tell me the truth. When's the last time you thought about me when you weren't needing something?" He opened his mouth, closed it. Exactly. I was useful, available, helpful, but I wasn't important, wasn't valued. That's not true. Really. "When's my birthday, Mom?" "When is it?" He hesitated. "February. It's February 14th, Valentine's Day." "I've been your mother for 38 years and you can't remember my birthday." He looked down. "And that would be fine," I continued. "If you hadn't expected me to remember everything about you, your favorite foods, your work, stress, your anniversary. But I'm supposed to just exist in the background, available when needed, invisible when not. I didn't realize." "No, you didn't. Because Amanda made sure you saw me as a burden, and you believed her. Amanda was just trying to help us establish boundaries. Boundaries, Daniel. She called me a burden in front of 20 people. That's not boundaries. That's cruelty. She was drunk. She had 2 glasses of champagne. She knew exactly what she was doing, which was what publicly humiliating me, establishing a narrative, making sure everyone saw me as the overbearing mother-in-law, so that when she convinced you to cut me off completely, she'd already have witnesses to justify it. That's paranoid, is it? How many times have you seen me since New Year's, he thought. I don't know. A few times. 0. You've seen me 0 times. I saw you at the architecture gala. That's it. And that was by accident. Well, you've been busy. I've been busy because I stopped waiting for you. But you didn't notice. You didn't call. You didn't visit until now. And why are you here now? He looked uncomfortable. Amanda thinks we should invite you to Thanksgiving. Ah, so this isn't about missing me. This is about Amanda's optics. That's not fair. Here's what's fair. I'll come to Thanksgiving if Amanda apologizes publicly in front of the same people she humiliated me in front of. She's not going to do that. Then I won't be there. Mom, Daniel, I'm done accepting crumbs. Done being grateful for minimal effort. Done making myself small. So Amanda feels big. This is really how you want things to be. This is how things are. I didn't choose it. Amanda did. You went along with it. Now you both get to live with it. I stood up. I need to leave for class. Class is more important than this conversation. This conversation was over the minute Amanda called me a burden, and you agreed with her. I walked him to the door. After he left, I sat in my car for 10 minutes before driving to class, crying but also relieved. I'd finally said it all. November brought the consequences of my choices. Daniel called several times, left voicemails ranging from apologetic to angry. Mom, I think we both said things we didn't. Mean. This is getting ridiculous. You're being stubborn. Amanda agrees to apologize if you'll just call her back. I didn't call back. Thanksgiving came. I spent it with my book club friends. We had a potluck at Patricia's house. 12 women, good food, better conversation. To us, Patricia said, raising her glass. Women who chose themselves. We all drank to that. The day after Thanksgiving, I received a long email from Amanda. Dear Catherine, Daniel has made it clear that you won't attend family events unless I apologize for what I said on New Year's Eve. So here it is. I'm sorry if my words hurt you. That wasn't my intention. I was trying to be honest about our need for boundaries, and perhaps I was too blunt. I hope you can understand that I was coming from a place of wanting what's best for Daniel and me. That said, I think you're being unreasonable. You've completely shut us out. You refuse to compromise or see our side. You're making Daniel choose between his wife and his mother, which isn't fair. I hope you'll reconsider your position and join us for Christmas. Family should be together for the holidays. Best, Amanda. I read it 3 times. Then I replied, Dear Amanda, thank you for your email. However, your apology is not an apology. I'm sorry if you were hurt is not the same as I'm sorry I hurt you. You didn't hurt me by being too blunt about boundaries. You hurt me by calling me a burden in front of 20 people in my own home. As for making Daniel choose, I'm not making him choose anything. He chose to let you humiliate me. He chose to defend you instead of me. He chose months of silence. I've simply accepted his choice and built a life that doesn't revolve around waiting for him to value me. I will not be attending Christmas. I have other plans. Best, Catherine. I hit send. Felt powerful. 2 days later, Daniel showed up at my house, again angry this time. Mom, this has to stop. Amanda tried to apologize. You threw it back in her face. That wasn't an apology. It was close enough. No, Daniel, it wasn't. She apologized for my feelings, not for her actions. She still thinks she was right. She just wishes I hadn't been hurt by it. What do you want? A groveling apology? I want genuine remorse. I want acknowledgement of what she did. I want her to understand that calling someone a burden in public is cruel. Not establishing boundaries. You're being impossible. I'm being myself. Finally. And you can't stand it because it means you have to actually consider my feelings instead of just expecting me to accommodate yours. I can't do this anymore. Amanda's right. You're toxic. That word toxic. Toxic. I'm toxic because I won't accept being humiliated. You're toxic because you're making everything about you. Because you can't let things go. Because you're punishing us. Daniel, I'm not punishing anyone. I'm just not volunteering to be hurt anymore. Same thing. No, it's not. But if you can't see the difference, then maybe Amanda's right. Maybe we do need distance. He left, slammed the door. I sat down, shook for 20 minutes. Then I called Dr. Morrison. He called me toxic. I told her. Of course he did. That's what happens when you set boundaries with someone who benefited from you having none. It hurts. I know. But Catherine, you're doing the right thing. You're choosing yourself. That's not toxic. That's healthy. He might never speak to me again. He might not. But if you go back to accepting mistreatment just to keep him in your life, what kind of relationship is that a painful one? Exactly. After the Thanksgiving email exchange with Amanda, I had a session with Dr. Morrison. She called you toxic, Dr. Morrison said. How did that feel? It hurt, but it also didn't surprise me. Why not? Because it's the logical next step. First I was a burden, then I was unreasonable. Now I'm toxic. She's escalating the language to justify cutting me off completely. Very astute. What do you think will happen next? She'll try to turn Daniel's friends and family against me. She'll paint herself as the victim of a toxic mother-in-law. She'll make sure that when they finally cut me off, everyone will understand why. And how do you feel about that? Sad, angry, but also resigned because I can't stop it. I can only control how I respond. which is how I keep living my life. I keep being myself. I let the people who matter see the truth, and I accept that some people, including Daniel, might never see it. Dr. Morrison smiled. Catherine, when you first came to me, you were devastated, uncertain, willing to do anything to fix the relationship with Daniel. I was. And now, I'm willing to do anything to maintain my own integrity, even if it means losing him. That's tremendous growth. It doesn't feel tremendous. It feels like survival. Sometimes they're the same thing. December was hard. The holidays loomed. Christmas had always been my favorite time of year. I'd always hosted, always decorated, always cooked. This year, I was invited to 3 different celebrations by friends, and I'd accepted none of them. Instead, I was spending Christmas in Vermont, a small inn, quiet, peaceful, just me. I'd never spent Christmas alone. The thought terrified me, but also liberated me. On December 20th, I drove to Vermont, 4 hours through snow. The inn was perfect, small, cozy, a handful of other guests. On Christmas Eve, we had dinner together, strangers but kind. One woman, Louise, maybe 75, asked, "Family not this year, by choice." Yes, good for you. I spent 50 years doing Christmas for everyone else. This year, I'm doing it for me. We drank wine, talked, laughed. Christmas morning, I woke up alone, opened the curtains to see snow falling. It was perfect. I painted, walked in the snow. On Christmas evening, my phone rang. Daniel, I almost didn't answer, but I did. Merry Christmas, Mom. Merry Christmas, Daniel. Where are you, Vermont? You're spending Christmas in Vermont alone. Yes, that's sad. Actually, it's wonderful. Peaceful. Exactly what I needed. Mom, this is crazy. It's Christmas. You should be with family. I invited myself to be with family that values me, and I was excluded, so I made other plans. Amanda didn't mean Daniel stop. Just stop. Every time we talk, you make excuses for Amanda. You defend her. You minimize what she did, and you know what I'm done with it. So that's it. You're just done with me. I'm done accepting being treated like a burden. If you want a relationship with me, it has to be real. It has to be mutual. It has to involve actual respect. And if I can't give you that, then you can't. And I'll be sad, but I'll survive because I'm not that desperate woman anymore, the one who would accept anything just to keep you in my life. Who are you? I'm Catherine, your mother, but also a person in my own right, a person with value beyond how useful I am to you. Silence. I have to go, Daniel said. Amanda's family is here. Enjoy your Christmas. I hung up, sat in the window watching snow fall, and felt free. On Christmas Eve, sitting in that Vermont inn, I received a call from a number I didn't recognize. I answered, "Hello, Catherine. It's Robert Chen Jennifer's father, Daniel's father-in-law. I'd met him a handful of times. Always pleasant." Wait, that didn't make sense. Amanda wasn't married to someone named Jennifer. I realized my mistake. This must be someone else. Actually, let me reconsider. In this story, Amanda doesn't have parents named Robert and Patricia Chen. Let me create appropriate in-laws for this story. Catherine, it's Michael Torres, Amanda's father, Daniel's father-in-law. I'd met him a handful of times. Always pleasant. Michael, hello. I hope I'm not bothering you. I know it's Christmas Eve. Not at all. Is everything okay? Yes. Well, I wanted to call because I owe you an apology. That surprised me. An apology. I was at your house on New Year's Eve when Amanda made that speech about boundaries and burdens. I laughed. I raised my glass. I went along with it. I see. And I felt terrible about it ever since. Linda, my wife, she tried to talk to me about it that night, said Amanda was out of line, that what she did was cruel, but I dismissed it. Told her Amanda was just being honest about her needs. He paused. I waited. But then I saw your painting at the Botanical Gardens burden, and I understood what I'd participated in, what I'd enabled. Michael, you don't have to. Please let me finish. I watched Amanda do to you what she did to her own mother. I watched her isolate Daniel from his family, and I said nothing because it was easier to go along with Amanda than to confront her. Why are you telling me this? Because you deserve to know that at least one person who was in that room sees what happened, sees what's still happening, and thinks you're handling it with remarkable grace. I felt tears welling up. Thank you. That means more than you know. Daniel is making a mistake. Amanda is, well, she's my daughter, so I'll be diplomatic. But she's not good for him and certainly not good to you. Have you told him this? Linda has tried. He doesn't want to hear it. He's completely under Amanda's influence. I know. I'm sorry, Catherine, for everything. After we hung up, I sat in the window and cried. Not from sadness, from relief. Someone had seen it. Someone who was there that night had witnessed the cruelty and was calling it out. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't oversensitive. I wasn't toxic. I was a mother who'd been publicly humiliated and had chosen dignity over desperation. New Year's Eve arrived again. 1 year since Amanda called me a burden. Patricia's party was wonderful, but during the toast, when she acknowledged my journey, I felt something unexpected. Pride. Not just in surviving the year, but in how I'd survived it. I hadn't become bitter, hadn't isolated myself, hadn't given up on life. I'd become more myself than I'd been in decades. After the party, I came home and wrote in my journal. 1 year ago tonight, Amanda called me a burden in front of 20 people in my own home. I smiled, stayed silent, let her finish, and then made a decision. Not a decision to punish her, not a decision to punish Daniel, but a decision to stop punishing myself, to stop making myself small, stop apologizing for existing, stop waiting for someone to see my value. This year, I've painted, traveled, made real friends, volunteered, learned, grown. I've become the woman I was supposed to be all along, the woman who doesn't need anyone's permission to exist fully. Amanda did me a favor. She showed me the truth, and the truth set me free. I closed the journal, looked around my house at the art on the walls, the travel photos, the evidence of a life being lived, and I smiled. The same smile I'd smiled on New Year's Eve a year ago, but this time it was real. At midnight, we toasted champagne celebration. My phone buzzed. A text from Daniel. Happy New Year, Mom. I've been thinking a lot. Can we talk? I looked at the message, thought about responding. Then I put my phone away. Tomorrow I'd think about it tomorrow. Tonight I was celebrating with people who valued me, who chose me, who saw me as anything but a burden. It's been 18 months since Amanda called me a burden. 18 months since I smiled, stayed silent, and decided how that night would be remembered. That night is remembered now as the night I chose myself. The night I stopped waiting for someone else to see my value. The night I started building a life that didn't need Daniel's approval or Amanda's acceptance. My life is full now. Rich mine. I paint, I travel, I volunteer, I have friends who truly see me. Daniel and I talk occasionally, brief, polite, distant. He's still with Amanda, still making excuses for her behavior, still choosing her over everyone else. That's his choice, and I've accepted it. But I don't wait by the phone anymore. Don't rearrange my life for his rare calls. I have opera tickets tonight, a gallery opening tomorrow, a trip to Spain planned for spring. I exist fully now, not in relation to Daniel, but as myself. On New Year's Eve, my daughter-in-law called me a burden, laughing as glasses, clink-ticket eyes turned to me, waiting for shame. I smiled, stayed silent, and let her finish, already deciding how that night would be remembered. It's remembered now as the beginning of my real life. The life where I'm not a burden to anyone, especially not to myself.